Andrew Easton, the day's news and the people making it.
BBC Hereford and Worcester.
We've been talking about the Queen today, and whilst the news and sport has been on, the Queen has reached a milestone in her reign. She has become Britain's longest-serving monarch, overtaking the record set by her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, which stood at 63 years and 216 days, 16 hours and 23 minutes. This morning, the Queen opened the new Scottish Borders Railway, which involved taking a steam train ride on the new £294 million line with Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. Let's bring in Grant Harrold, former royal butler and now a royal and British etiquette consultant. What an honour. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks for coming on. And
thanks for having me on.
Well, it's okay. And talk to us about as much as you can, without giving any secrets away, about your time as a royal butler. What did your duties include?
As you said, I don't end up in the tower at the end of the conversation, but I had a wonderful experience working for the royal family. My role was as a butler, and the role of a butler isn't quite what people think because everybody watches Downton Abbey, and they always say to me, "Is that what you used to do?" And of course, it's not quite like that, because you've got to kind of multitask today.
I bet you did. What property were you in? Were you in the Buckingham Palace?
Well, Highgrove mainly, which is Prince William's country home, but I kind of went from place to place. You know, I would sometimes be at Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, Holyrood House, Sandringham, Castle of May, wherever the royals were. I kind of travelled around, mainly with the Prince of Wales, but on occasions there would be reasons for me to do things for the Queen if requested by the Prince. So it was quite a magical, as I say, it was quite a magical time, and I feel quite lucky and privileged to have experienced some of the things I did and stayed in some of the places I've stayed. And
your duties as a butler then, barring of course the need to open a big creaking heavy door and utter the word yes, what else were you required to do?
Well, you said that was the main part of the job, but it was things from answering phones, seeing people in to the properties before they met the royals, calming them down. That was a big part of the job. When you had somebody that was coming in to meet a member of the royal family, and it didn't matter who it was. When we had all sorts of high-profile people, and on many occasions they were extremely nervous, because I think for them sometimes it was probably meeting some of the most famous people in the world, and they didn't really know how to kind of react, and you'd be getting asked all sorts of questions, and then you would take them through to meet the member of the royal family, and we used to have all sorts of things go wrong. You know, men would end up cutsing and all the rest of it, just out of nerves.
Oh, tell us someone who was nervous. Can you tell us a name? Could you give us a clue? Someone we might know who was just absolutely terrified.
Unfortunately, I can't, but I can give you a wonderful, because people always say to me, you know, when you work for these kind of families, did you ever meet anybody that was really famous? And the thing for myself is I've been lucky enough to meet many famous people, but the one that people think hysterical and unusual is I won't say where, but I was in this property, and there was a guest sitting at the breakfast table, and it was in the butler's pantry, and the butler's pantry was part of where they had breakfast. And there was this chap sitting there, and I said good morning to him, and he said good morning to me in an American accent. And I said to him, I recognise you. And he started laughing. He said, oh, I recognise you too, because I'd done a TV thing at the time. And then he just went into kind of hysterics, and he said, I really like you, kid. I think I was a bit younger. And I just thought, this is a really nice guy. And the butler I was working with came racing in down this corridor, grabbed me, pulled me into this room to the side. He said, have you got any idea? You can't ask those kind of questions. He said, how can you not know who that is? I said, I've got no idea. And he said, it's Neil Diamond.
Really?
Yeah, so I had no idea. But I mean, you know, I have these kind of things happen. I once even drove Vivienne Westwood, and I asked what she did.
So I bet they probably prefer that, you know. And what about the Queen herself? You say you worked with her on occasion. I mean, what was she like to be that close to?
For me, it was absolutely magical, because when I was about 10 years old, as my parents like to remind everybody, I wrote to the Queen to ask how I could become part of the family, whether that was either marrying into the family or working for the family. And I kept the letter, I think just to kind of remind me of my one chance of trying to get in with the royal family. And of course, many years later, when I was in working at one of these royal events, and the Prince of Wales introduced me to the Queen, and I remember being absolutely didn't know what to say, because again, you're face to face with the Queen, and then I got over that. Eventually, I got used to seeing her, and even one occasion I danced with her in Scotland in a reel.
You
at Balmoral Castle.
Wow, you've danced with the Queen.
So that was quite, and thank goodness I took dancing lessons.
What did you dance?
It was a reel. I can't even remember the name of the dance, because it was all so very quick, because I'd actually been dancing prior to that with the Duchess of Cornwall, and at the end of the dance we stopped dancing, and I thanked her, and as you do, and I turned round, and facing me was the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. And I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting, because I thought, now what happens? And everybody just held hands, and we went into this reel. But again, what was exciting for me was, I remember as a child watching ER, and this isn't as in the casualty program, this is ER as in the documentary about the Queen, and there was a scene at the girlies' ball, and my father always reminds me that when I watched this, I kept saying, one day I will go to the girlies' ball and I will dance with the Queen. And of course, like any parents, of course they're supportive, and they think, of course you will, where they're probably thinking delusional.
Well, and you were. Grant, we need to talk again. There are so many memories that I'm sure we haven't even tapped into, but we sadly have to move on. Thank you for your time, though. Really good to speak to you.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Grant Harrold, former Royal Butler. Great memories. Now a Royal and British etiquette consultant. Someone note his number, Dan. He's coming on again. We're going to do a whole hour. It's 5:43, BBC Hereford.